Hi there and welcome to Rusty Compass. My name is Mark Bowyer and I'm sitting in the middle of the rice paddies a few kilometres outside of Hoi An in central Vietnam. And today we're going to talk about tech toys for travel. And I've brought along with me 4 toys, the simplest of them being this Nokia $30 phone, purchased in Ho Chi Minh City with a Vietnamese SIM card inside. Second, the iPod Touch. The third, the Amazon Kindle. And the fourth, the much discussed iPad. There's a motorbike just about to come past me here. Qua được không chị?
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Hello.
Xin chào.
Được.
Được, qua được đúng không? Cảm ơn nhé. The Vietnamese hospitality never ceases to amaze, even when you sort of half block up one of their lanes while you're making your little video. They still give you a warm welcome. But back to the toys. I started with this guy, $30 phone. Why one of these? Because when you travel, one of the things you need most is good battery life on your phone. This phone does nothing but make and receive phone calls, and that's all I want it to do, because the battery lasts for 3 or 4 days. You're not going to get stuck somewhere with a dead phone, which is a really big problem with the smartphones, the iPhone and all the others. Battery life is still not, I don't think, good enough for a traveller's need. So keep your phone separate to your smart devices, and get yourself a really cheap, really good phone, and put a local SIM card in it, because if you're making local calls, not to mention international calls, you're going to not be hit with outrageous roaming charges. Your provider back home will, as you would no doubt know, slug you with really ridiculous extra charges for roaming. So get yourself a local card. You may still carry your other phone and have that there for friends and family to contact you, but you can also give them access to this number, which means at least you're not paying those roaming charges. The iPod Touch is, I think, was really the first revolution, and its big brother, the iPad, is really, as has been said many times now, is really just a big iPod Touch. It's a great and very useful big iPod Touch, but that's all it is. This device has served me very well traveling now over the last 6 months or so. What I love about it, it's a really great way to pick up your email, do basic web browsing. It's also obviously got an iPod for listening to music, watching video, and it's also really valuable because it's got Skype on board. So I've been popping downstairs into the hotel lobby or into a cafe, and that has free Wi-Fi, and making phone calls as I need to for free, or if I'm using the Skype out service, for very low charges. Nothing like the kinds of charges you get hit up with by your provider from home when you're roaming. So this is a revolutionary device, and I think for those who want to travel light, this combination is superb. Now, what else does this offer? Well, it offers access to the Kindle store, or your Kindle books, your Kindle purchases, and it also offers access to applications. Both of those are valuable, although not as valuable yet for the traveller as no doubt they'll become. The Kindle store's travel bookshop offerings are still pretty limited, way too limited, I think. I do have the Lonely Planet on here though, which is really handy if you're travelling and you need to check a restaurant, or you need to check a site or an address or whatever. To be able to pull your guidebook out of one of these is very helpful. And I certainly look forward to an expansion of the Kindle store so that the full possibilities of these devices for readers can become better realised. Here is the Kindle. Now, the Kindle is another great traveller's device. It can save you from carrying dozens of books if you're an avid reader when you travel, or if you're travelling for a while, or if you just want to get your hands... got another motorbike passing here, so... Ciao! Hello. So yeah, if you're carrying lots of books with you normally, the Kindle can be a very sensible alternative to that. And as you can see here, the screen is very readable, even in what is a fairly glary situation I find myself in. So I can very comfortably sit here and read from the Kindle. not something you can do with an iPad. So if reading's your purpose when you travel, if you're a big reader when you travel, the Kindle's great. It has a couple of big shortcomings. I already mentioned the fact that the Kindle store has many limitations for travellers. I love carrying old history books and occasionally old fiction when I'm travelling through a country. Now, what is available so far in terms of old books, old travel books and old history and fiction for travellers is it's pretty limited. Guidebooks are also very limited. So we can only hope, I'd love to see Kindle or Amazon open a travel bookstore that basically pulls together the best of travel reading by country or by region, and that would be a fantastic, it'd be fantastic to be able to carry the full sort of Vietnam Traveller's Library, which is something that you could check out on rustycompass.com. If you could carry that in your Kindle, that'd be fantastic. The other disappointment with the Kindle is it only has 3G access, and here in Vietnam 3G is, well, there is 3G, but Kindle clearly don't have a deal because I can't download books and newspapers and magazines that I normally subscribe to, which is really disappointing as well. It's very silly that it doesn't have normal Wi-Fi access. Speaking of Wi-Fi, most of what I'm talking about today, certainly in respect of the iPod Touch and the iPad, assumes ready access to good Wi-Fi. I don't think you want to be using your iPad, for example, on a 3G plan when you're roaming. If you don't already know this, some 3G roaming plans are as much as 1,000 times more expensive for data than they are back home. So I would suggest if you do have a 3G card in your iPad, take it out when you travel and use Wi-Fi. This is only a Wi-Fi device and I haven't had any problems. As I've mentioned, here in Vietnam and in Cambodia, Wi-Fi is everywhere. Cafes, restaurants, hotels offer it free of charge, so you never really have any difficulty accessing free Wi-Fi. Ironically, the more expensive your hotel room, the more likely it is you may have difficulty with free Wi-Fi. But in any cheap hotel in Vietnam, as I say, any cafe, restaurant, bar, free Wi-Fi is pretty standard. Something you can't depend on necessarily in Australia or Europe, but more and more free Wi-Fi is going to become a fundamental service for travellers. So, and the Vietnamese and Cambodians have already picked that up. So to the iPad. Well, if you want to do a lot of work when you're travelling but you don't want to carry a computer, this is a really good compromise option. You can send decent size emails on this thing. You can do reasonable amounts of typing work. I found the typing with this keyboard very usable. Of course, you're not going to want to sit there for 8 hours using it, but to send a sort of half-hour email or to write notes, it's a very usable device. It is very much a large iPod Touch, but being a large iPod Touch gives it lots of advantages. You can read far, it's a much better reading experience. As I said, not a good reading experience outside, which the Kindle is, but if you're in your hotel room or in a cafe, it's a very good reading experience. What are the disappointments with this device? The first disappointment is Flash. Apple's claims about this being a revolutionary browsing device, I think, are a little overblown when one of the fundamental platforms for delivering video and slideshows on the web is Flash, and Apple's made a decision not to allow you to use Flash on this. Now, Apple have provided all kinds of arguments as to why they don't want to fit this thing with Flash. I think we, the consumer, should have been given that choice. Apple could have very happily advised us of the concerns they had and then let us make the decision, but they chose to make the decision for us. And that means that most picture-heavy websites, like Rusty Compass, for example, you can't properly view on this device, which is a huge disappointment, obviously, and a cost to small companies, small businesses like Rusty Compass, where we have to go and rebuild our website so that people can view it in this. Now, it may be that Rupert Murdoch finds that a very reasonable cost, but for small players, which is what the internet is partially about, Steve Jobs has made a decision that makes our lives a little bit harder. The other downside of this device is that it doesn't have any USB port, and so the whole process of file management is more difficult. And from a traveller's perspective, the utility of this device would have been much improved if you could load your photos onto it, if you could use this as a photo storage device. You can't do that at the moment. well, you can't do it without an intermediate device. You can't plug your camera directly into this device. So that's a really regrettable omission on Apple's part. Obviously, like all these, no doubt an intended one, but one that diminishes the user-friendliness of this device for travellers. But look, all said and done, all of these devices represent an absolute revolution in travel, and as time passes they're going to enrich the travel experience, being able to carry an exhaustive library so that when you're travelling through Vietnam you've got access to all great writing about, you know, recent past and the war and not to mention the ancient history. Having all that at your fingertips in a device like this can really add depth to your travel experience, so that's something we can look forward to. And already these devices are a great complement to travel. So if you're not crazy like me and you don't want to carry 4 of them around, because that isn't really a very sensible way to go, as you can see. If you don't want to carry 4, I suggest for the basic option 2. If you're a big reader, grab one of these, but I wouldn't suggest you carry both. Happy travels, and thanks for joining us at rustycompass.com.